The U.S. Debt Crisis and Crypto Connection. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, The Upward Graph. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest financial issues of our time, the U.S. debt crisis. We'll break down what it is, why the debt keeps rising, what the U.S. government is planning to do, and how all of this is connected to the world of crypto. So stay tuned till the end. This affects every one of us. What is the U.S. debt? The U.S. national debt is the total amount of money the federal government owes, and that number is massive, over $34 trillion and growing every second. This debt is made up of debt held by the public, investors, banks, and foreign countries like China and Japan, and intra-governmental debt, money borrowed from government programs like Social Security. Every year, the government spends more than it collects in taxes. That difference is called the budget deficit, and the government covers it by borrowing more money, which increases the debt. Why has the debt been rising for decades? Now, the big question, why has U.S. debt been growing nonstop for decades? Let's break it down. 1. Massive government spending. The U.S. spends huge amounts on military, healthcare, Social Security, infrastructure, and welfare programs, and these expenses keep increasing as the population grows. 2. Tax cuts without spending cuts. Over the decades, the government has repeatedly cut taxes, but spending didn't decrease, so deficits remained high. 3. Wars and emergencies. Events like the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, the 2008 financial crisis, and the COVID-19 pandemic forced the government to spend trillions in relief programs and bailouts. 4. Rising interest rates. When interest rates rise, the cost of paying back old debt goes up. The U.S. now pays hundreds of billions per year just in interest, without reducing the actual debt. And 5. Political polarization. Every few years, the government gets stuck in debt ceiling fights. Instead of making long-term plans, they patch the problem temporarily. So the debt isn't growing because of one bad decision, it's growing because of decades of expensive choices combined with no real long-term discipline. Why this is now a crisis? Debt itself isn't always bad. Countries borrow money to grow and invest. But it becomes a crisis when interest payments explode, investors lose confidence, the government struggles to fund basic services, and there's no clear plan to reduce the debt. Right now, the U.S. is paying more in interest than it does on major programs like education and transportation. That's a warning sign. So, how does the U.S. government plan to deal with this growing problem? There are 4 main strategies, and none of them are easy. 1. Raising taxes. The government may increase taxes on corporations, high-income individuals, investment profits. This raises revenue, but it's politically sensitive. 2. Cutting spending. This could mean reducing military spending, Social Security, Medicare, and government programs. But cutting benefits is extremely unpopular. 3. Boosting economic growth. If the economy grows faster, tax revenue naturally increases. This is one of the government's preferred strategies. And 4. Controlled inflation. This is a hidden strategy. If inflation stays slightly higher, the real value of old debt decreases. But too much inflation hurts the population, so it's a delicate balance. And 5. Modernizing regulations, including crypto. The government is also exploring stricter financial regulations, digital currency frameworks, and even the possibility of a U.S. digital dollar, CBDC, to improve tax collection and reduce fraud. the connection between U.S. debt and crypto. Now, let's talk about one of the most interesting parts, the link between the U.S. debt crisis and crypto. 1. When people lose trust in the dollar, they turn to alternatives. As debt rises and inflation fears grow, more people look at crypto, especially Bitcoin, as a hedge against government instability. 2. High debt leads to money printing, which leads to inflation, which leads to crypto demand. High government debt often leads to increased money supply. More dollars in circulation reduce the dollar's value and make crypto seem more attractive. 3. Debt ceiling drama always moves the crypto market. Whenever Washington fights over raising the debt limit, crypto prices typically spike because investors rush to assets outside the traditional financial system. 4. Global confidence in the dollar affects crypto adoption. If the world starts doubting the U.S. financial system, more countries may adopt Bitcoin reserves, crypto-based payments, and central bank digital currencies, which indirectly boosts the crypto ecosystem. And 5. Regulation tightening because of debt. The U.S. government, under pressure to collect more tax revenue, is tightening crypto regulations. This is directly connected to the need to reduce deficits. Conclusion. So here's the bottom line. The U.S. debt crisis didn't happen overnight. It's the result of decades of increased spending, tax cuts, wars, emergencies, and rising interest rates. The government does have plans, but none of them are easy or instant. And yes, the crisis is closely connected to crypto. Whenever people worry about the dollar, inflation, or political instability, crypto becomes an alternative store of value. Whether that's good or bad depends on how the next decade unfolds. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, do you think crypto is the future, or will the dollar remain king?